Welcome back to EMW's filter channel, and today we have some pretty good news for all the gas turbine operators or operators of compressor machine, because the test standard for air filter systems of rotary machines, that means for your application, the test standard ISO 29461 has recently received a new update. And with this update now you receive for your own application your own filter classes. That means now we can introduce you over here the filter classes ISO T1 up to ISO T13. And the test procedure of these filter classes are pretty much based on our already existing test standards in our industry. That means the filter classes T1 to T9 are pretty much based on the test procedure according to ISO 16890. Whereas the higher filter classes over here, the ISO T10 to T13, are based to the test standard ISO 29463. And I know this kind of stuff was very theoretical, but to give you a better picture about which kind of filters we talk about, you can compare the filter classes T1 to T9 with filter classes of the G filter classes and the fine filter classes, which you know now for many, many years. And the higher filter classes over here, T10 to T13, these are pretty much comparable with the EPA and HEPA filter classes. So this is a short introduction, but I would say it's worth it to spend also a little bit time on the test rig, and there we can see how the test procedure runs. So now we have reached here the test lab, and in such a test rig, which you can see over there we've checked the performance of filters like pocket filters or compact filters. And with regards to the test standard ISO 29461, I told you already that the filter classes T1 to T4 get tested based on the existing test standard ISO 16890. That means during the test procedure we measure the initial arrestance of the filters till a dust load of 100 gram with the test dust of ISO fine. So now in the next step we have a look on the filter classes T5 to T9, and there we can say that we still talk about the test procedure which is based on the existing test standard ISO 16890. So we say in comparison we could say that the T5 filter class pretty much deals in the particle spectrum of ISO EPM 10. Whereas the filter class T6 pretty much deals with the particle spectrum of ISO EPM 2.5, and the higher filter classes of T7 to T9 deals pretty much in the spectrum of the ISO EPM 1. But the difference is that whereas we look with the T5 to T6 filter class on the average efficiency of a filter, on the higher filter classes of T7 to T9 we focus the minimum efficiency values, and these minimum efficiency values pretty much to capture the performance of a filter without any electrostatic charge. That means the test device gets discharged during the test procedure so that there is no any electrostatic charge existing, and then we check the performance without this kind of impact of filtration. So now we have reached the highest level of filter classes according to this test standard. That means the filter classes T10 up to T13. And as I said already, the test procedure for these filter classes are based on the test standard ISO 29463. And what we do here during the test procedure is we measure the MPPS, the most penetrating particle size of a filter device. And that gives you already an idea that we can compare it pretty much with the well-known EPA and HEPA filter classes in our filter industry. So back from the test lab, you have seen that the test procedure of the ISO 29461 is pretty much based on already existing test standards, but there are certain kind of differences which you should be aware about. And one difference is measurement of the dust holding capacity. That means for the filter classes T1 to T4, we're going to measure the dust holding capacity up to a final pressure drop of 375 Pascal with a test dust which is called ISO fine. And for all the other filter classes, we're going to measure the dust holding capacity up to a final pressure drop of 625 Pascal. A very important aspect which you should recognize is that with the filter classes T10 to T13, which I told you is comparable to the existing EPA and HEPA filter classes, that means very high efficient performing filters, These filter classes now will also consider the measurement of a dust holding capacity. So that's pretty much a new thing in our industry. And another point is the airflow rate, and also there is a difference to other test standards. That means the airflow rate we can measure between the 850 to 8,500 cubic meter per hour. So that was a short introduction about the ISO 29461 test standard, and as I said at the beginning, pretty good news for all the operators of gas turbines and compressor machines, because now you have your up-to-date test standard for your application with your own filter classes. So now it's easier for you to distinguish between different kind of filters and the performance data which you can see on the test report. However, you really have to be critical to certain kind of test data you compare or which got achieved on a test rig in comparison to the results which you would achieve in real ambient conditions. For example, the dust holding capacity of the filter classes T10 to T13, which are comparable with the EPA and HEPA filter classes, are not really worth it to have a deeper look on it, because from my experience, you would always have to consider a good arrangement of pre-filters upfront, such a high efficient working filter device, and that means the pre-filters are really gaining weight by capturing the large rough particles. However, I would say if you are interested about more details on this test standard or other topics of filtration industry, then I would say visit our homepage on the section Filter Campus, or check our YouTube channel and LinkedIn channel, and really looking forward to see you next time.